Good afternoon. Welcome to the replay. This is Ryan Miller from Parent Dome. I just wanted to share something with you. One of my followers brought my attention to something that was just produced by BBC. So before I share this information, which is an interesting thing to watch, I just captured it real fast. I'll do some editing later, but I wanted to put this out here. Because I come to the platform educational purposes, I do have terms of service for my broadcasts. So what I do is I let you know what the rules are. So when you downloaded the app, you agreed to a contract. This is something that the BBC did not happen to report in their reporting. They just did a 2.5-minute soundbite, and it's not in their interest to promote this kind of information. But you'll see how they put this piece together. So I enforce the terms of service of the contract that you signed in the application. That is the terms of service and the community guidelines. One way to manage yourself is to be respectful and no profanity in my broadcast. Also, please do not use three-letter agencies anywhere that you participate on social media. That is Parent Dome's wisdom that we just drop on you like a 50-gallon drum of water. I'm not here for celebrity or hearts, follows, shares, likes, Twitters, super hearts, none of those things. I'm here with intention to provide wisdom and education about keeping kids safe in a digitally immersed life. If you want to super heart my broadcast, you have to know that all that I'm ineligible to redeem super hearts. That's just the nature of my broadcast. The terms and conditions are quite clear that I will never be able to redeem a super heart. So if you super heart my broadcast, you're just throwing away money, and you're not throwing it away. You're making a decision to give Periscope and Twitter your money. Instead of them getting 60% of the revenue, you're giving them 100% of the revenue. So, but those are your choices. I just make you aware of that. Also, people have asked me about how I am doing my broadcasts this way. I'm using a tool called OBS, and it's a way for me to use it for educational purposes. So if you're interested in learning how to do this, I put a course together to help people. Yeah, no kidding. Beyond the content. They make money off of us using the data too. But if you're interested in how to use tools such as this for improving your production value, if you're a broadcaster, this tool is something that I offer. That bit.ly link gives you if you want to screenshot it, or maybe it's of no interest. I make that available to you. Also, because of my friend Gab, whoops, I shouldn't say that. There we go. Gab Smacked. He is a broadcaster out of Sydney, Australia. Fantastic dude. He is sponsoring this hashtag ProWest, which I am part of the ProWest initiative in talking about facts don't care about your feelings in a lot of his things that he broadcasts. But I want to jump here real quick. Let me get out of here. So what I wanted to bring your attention to is this BBC little soundbite that happened. So I apologize. I haven't edited it yet, but I want you to see this piece that was put together by BBC.
Children's pictures on the wall. Someone's just described her on there as hot. Someone's just asked her, she's 12, whether she's ever had sex.
Hi. So right now it's my first time playing this app. I don't even know what to do. Oh, I'm 9.
It was on TV.
But I actually look 7. Up top, please. What do you mean by up top, please?
Well, it's very disturbing, isn't it? To see children as young as 9 by their
the video lagged here so there's a little bit of lag right now during the video. I'm going to edit this out so people can see what's happening with what BBC.
So vulnerable and being so clearly groomed for sexual purposes by a pack of people online. It's really shocking.
All right. Did you happen to see that Periscope and Twitter refused to comment to the BBC regarding? I'm sorry, I got to turn my audio down. I wanted to get the feedback there. So BBC attempted to interview Periscope and Twitter, and Periscope and Twitter came back with a very pleasant response. It's a top priority that they have an aggressive campaign for moderation, and they have a zero tolerance policy for child exploitation. And folks, if you're in my broadcast, I would question you is if you have navigated Periscope on your own, what has been your experience of seeing broadcasts that violate the terms of service of Periscope? I'm not going to make any statement. I have my own observation. I have my own data. I have my own experience as to reporting. I have my own experience in reporting beyond the requirements of the terms of service. And I have my own data as to what level of responsiveness Periscope and Twitter have. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you providing your perspective, because I'm not here to say one thing or another. My experience must be anecdotal. What are the parents doing? We know what the parents are doing. We know what the parents are doing. I'm a parent. If you're a parent, what are you doing? We know. They ignore and they say things like, not my child. That is a hope, has no evidence behind it, because they don't know what their child is doing online. So that's the answer. Every child is online. They're somewhere. You just don't know where. And this is not Periscope's problem. This is not Periscope's problem. Everything is hidden in plain view. Everything is hidden in plain view. When you click I agree on your cell phone plan, you've entered into a contract. When you click I agree on your cable TV bill, you've entered into a contract. When you buy a video game disc, you've entered into a contract. The fact that you don't read the contracts, the fact that it is illegal to put an internet-connected device in the hands of a minor child, that's against the law in the United States. You can't do that. Now, you didn't read the contract to even understand that, but that device that your child is using illegally comes with your adult responsibility. Oh gosh, happens all the time, Miss Katja. Happens all the time. And that when that child gets jammed up doing something illegal, adult, you can't litigate a minor child. You can't enter into a contract with a minor child. So when your minor child is holding this device and they click I agree, they're doing it for you, because this is your device. It's yours. It's not theirs. They have custody of it. They don't have ownership of it. They have taken custody of this from you. You've given it to them willingly, and everything that they're doing online is based upon your legal contract and your tacit approval. So the fact that you don't see it, don't argue at the platform. Don't yell at Periscope. Don't yell at Twitter. Don't yell at Facebook. Don't yell at Snapchat. Don't yell at Instagram. Don't yell at Reddit. Don't yell at 4chan. Don't yell at Kick. And the list goes on and on. We have relegated our responsibilities as parents on technology to allow the device to create parental controls, but we don't know what those are. We allow this addiction to continue. But don't be angry at them. Don't be angry at the platforms. What you just saw was the BBC holding in plain daylight what we know already to be true. Parents are stupid morons. I'm a stupid moron too. because I know the amount of effort it takes for me to supervise my child, and it's a lot, and I don't do it all the time. And then I've got to go back and restore things. And then I have to have these conversations. I said, honey, I didn't see this go out. Wow, this is embarrassing. We need to make this go away. It's not easy, and I suck at it myself. But when people see that video from the BBC, and they're like, well, how can parents be doing this? Folks, parents are doing the same blooming thing. The parents are doing the same blooming thing. You are modeling the behavior for your child to duplicate your behavior. Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. And I have to constantly modify my behavior. And that if I see something that is bad and my child sees me seeing it bad and I joke it away, I'm giving her tacit approval that this is something my dad does. He couldn't call me foul for me doing it. Or I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. Do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't hold water in a child's mind of justice. They say that's unfair. And they're valid. It isn't fair. You have one standard for yourself and one standard for them. So what I wanted to draw attention to in that video was how BBC was taking broadcasts from the public domain and showing them on TV. That was very interesting. I don't know if people understand the subtlety of that, because Periscope's terms of service, which nobody reads, doesn't understand copyright law. Oh, absolutely. It's a permanent record. Don't understand copyright law. There's private back channel communications about people saying, they're not allowed to steal my content. I listened to a young lady go back and forth complaining how their broadcast was taken and put somewhere else. I wonder what she would have thought if her broadcast was all of a sudden put up on the BBC News and some of the names grayed out and her face pixelated with what she was doing. Would she claim it was stolen? Would she go and sue the BBC for taking something that is in the public domain and putting it out more public? You've got no voice. They're acting in compliance with the law the way the platform was intentionally built. Periscope is public. Your broadcasts are going everywhere. The broadcasts are going everywhere. They're going on Twitter. They're going on Facebook. Official MP Radio. Your broadcasts are pretty sweet, dude. I like what you do with your broadcasts. That's pretty sweet. I use mine educationally. I like how you use yours artistically. Great artistic value. If you guys don't know, go, if you like music and DJ, Official MP Radio does a very cool broadcast. One of the better broadcasts, well, actually the best one I've seen for people doing music. Anyway, side Dutch. BBC did not do anything wrong. It does work. It does get them the ability to get off. One of the things that I have done is in order to drive my point home, I take those broadcasts and I do share them on Twitter. I warn, and then I share. Now, I'm not the kids' parents. I'm not their parents. And if they want to be celebrities on social media, my Twitter will help them accomplish that goal. So I'm kind of helping them in their quest for the Kim Kardashian celebrity goal that they have. And whether their parents are supporting that or the parents disagree with that, that's not my business. Apparently, the child has enough authority to press go live and do whatever they do. And it is sanctioned and approved by the parents. So when it goes up on Twitter and it goes into Facebook and it's shared on YouTube and it's shared on BBC News, they can't yell foul and they can't send a Digital Millennium copyright takedown notice because I'll wind up suing them for perjury. I was interested to see that the BBC put that out there. But will it change people's behavior? Well, that's a hope. That's a hope. But the reality is, a hope absent of a plan is just a dream. and just go to Disney World and live your life out in the Disney World fantasy land. Because not my child, those are not orphans. They're everyone's child, including mine. Including mine. Because I can't have eyeballs on all the things that she's doing at all times. I have to have a process that I am notified and I'm aware as to what she's doing. And we all make those decisions. I'm better than most. I'm worse than many. And I know a tremendous amount. And I know I can't be 100%. That's not unusual, Caroline. That's part of the function inside. You could be tagged into a group and somebody shares to that group and it will pop up in your stream that you're going to get sex scopes. And it will happen. It will attach to you on Twitter. It's a game of whack-a-mole. If you don't want those things, popping up on your profile, you need to keep an eye on your profile and you need to delete and block those people from attaching to you. It's the only thing you can do because reporting it is meaningless. Should we share the kids' scope with 800 pedophiles? And I've got them on my YouTube channel, Simon. I think draw attention to the pedophiles, draw attention to the victims. Now, I would not recommend that for everybody because if you become identified as one of those people that is an advocate or an interventionist for those type of people, you're putting a bullseye on your back. If you put that bullseye on your back, not equipped or prepared for the consequences of what that bullseye means, don't come running to me. Because the world is an evil, nasty place. People have seen it happen in my scope. I am an activist, I'm an interventionist, and I am equipped way better than many, many people to do this. And I have a process for doing it. And I have relationships with various law enforcement agencies across the planet for what I do. Dealing with predators, sex trafficking, suicide intervention. I don't know how many people can survive watching a suicide live and how that will emotionally scar you. Are you emotionally and psychologically prepared to see some 9-year-old kid live eviscerate a cat? Are you prepared to see that? And then are you prepared for when you report it and the father who's a sociopath wants to come and take you out? And if you're not equipped with a defensive strategy for your offensive actions, you're hosed. You are hosed. You can't unsee certain things. I was at a period last year where my intervention had a pinnacle where I saw too much in a short period of time. And it affected me that I had to get out because there were too many people dying in a short period of time. And the parents have no clue. It would give you nightmares. Holy crikeys. So I'm not here offering judgment. I'm not. I'm here as an educator saying we do the best we can with what we know with where we are. Oops, sorry. I want to turn that off. That's why I'm here. There's Jeff O'Charlie. I mean, this is something every hour you can make a commentary about something evil that's happening on Periscope. Right now, you could probably swipe sideways and then stumble into something that you wouldn't want to stumble into. It's the platform itself. It gives you the ability for anybody to press go live anywhere doing anything. So this is welcome to unsupervised self-expression. And Periscope is filled with people with a lot of time on their hands, with a lot of mental challenges. Pete, how are you doing, Pete? Were you just in the other scope? Yes, you were. You were in the scope with the gentleman that was sharing this video for BBC. I just put that up in the broadcast to share that BBC video. Oh, absolutely, Miss Kacha. It's about shooting the messenger because it's about what I talked about earlier. It's not looking into the mirror because they need to to condemn someone else for what they're avoiding in their own responsibility. That's what this is. Pete, I've missed you from Scoping, by the way. I hope you're doing okay. I haven't caught you live, and that may be me, but I haven't caught you live for a while, so I hope you're doing okay. So I recognize that I will always be the victim of others' wrath and condemnation when calling attention to their oversight mistake. That's just the nature of what I do, and I'm equipped, prepared to do that. Remember, I had that suit of armor. That doesn't affect me, because my goal is to get to the parents to pierce their conscience, to make a step regarding the relationship with their children, to supervise, to have awareness, to have oversight, to have controls as to what their kids are doing online. But what was really cool was the BBC took content directly being fed out of Periscope and put it into the news. Now, they did a little bit of pixelization to take people's names out, but they let the comments come in. They let the comments. But there was no obligation for them to do that. They didn't need to hide people's handles. They didn't need to hide the broadcaster's face. I can let it go again. I didn't edit it. That's the problem. I didn't edit the video. I just grabbed it real quick. I'm going to turn my audio up for a second.
Children's pictures on the wall. Someone's just described her on there as hot. Someone's just asked her, she's 12, whether she's ever had sex.
Hi. So right now it's my first time playing this app. I don't even know what to do. I'm 9, but I actually look 7. Up top, please. What do you mean by up top, please?
Well, it's very disturbing, isn't it? To see children as young as 9 by their...
Sorry, see, this is why I want to edit out this lag that's in the video. It's a little frustrating, so that's why I want to edit it.
You know, so vulnerable and being so clearly groomed for sexual purposes by a pack of people online. It's really shocking.
Take a look at this statement from Twitter. We have a strong content moderation policy and encourage viewers to report comments they feel are abusive. We have a zero tolerance for any form of child sexual exploitation. Hogwash. The policy is a written policy. It is not a policy which is followed by action. They get 10 million reports per shift, and they have 6 employees to handle 10 million reports per shift. What percentage of 10 million broadcasts have any level of responsiveness when the goal of Periscope is to get more viewers, more view time, more numbers of people attaching to the profile? It is illogical to meet their shareholder expectations that they would delete anything. So I understand that their terms of service are in conflict with the shareholder expectations. I understand that. So when I came on the platform very, very early on and I started reporting, it was no surprise to me that there was no response. It was just a form letter, but there was no action taken. That's not a surprise to me because I could only imagine that my email was one of many. And I attempted to figure out what was the wording and the language and the degree of atrocity that they would act on. And there was no sense of urgency. So I determined I can't change the platform. Oh my gosh. This is a taboo topic. It's a taboo topic. At Periscope Summit, it was a taboo topic. It's a taboo topic inside the private channels of communication within Periscope. So you don't talk about this. So talking about this is a bad thing to even bring into the platform. So the only thing that I did is understand, since this is my mission, take ownership of it. Well, that's not unusual to anticipate a strict bias of censorship based upon your ideological bent. That's normal. If there are things that disagree with your corporate ideology, you're going to limit that visibility. That's another thing that we should accept. I told people, I've been censored from YouTube and Facebook and Periscope. I've been censored. And that I've had to tailor my message to evade the censorship police. So I'm not complaining about Periscope's terms of service, and I'm not complaining about their ability or inability to respond to reporting claims. Oh no, form letter. Everybody gets a form letter response, Simon. Everybody gets a form letter. When you got taken down, you got a form letter. Anybody else gets a form letter, with the exception of maybe some people like Jeff Goldberg or Ron Waxman or things like that, which are really poking at the beast. They get a little bit more than a form letter response. I'm not saying that authoritatively, but that's my perception. But all I got is form letter. I think I've got all the queue of form letter responses that they have because I tested it so many ways. But again, that is not my complaint on Periscope. I'm not. I understand these platforms and what they do and don't do, can do, and will and won't do. So as far as when I am an activist doing this role, yes, that is correct, EJ. He certainly did. He was demonstrating some limitations in the system. That's all he was doing. He was saying, this is what happens. And no, it wasn't a complaint. It was an enlightenment to say, here is a weakness inside the system. As you as a viewer and you as a broadcaster, you need to be prepared for these things because it's not something being addressed within the platform itself. And he did that maybe he didn't do it in the most politically correct way for those that adhere to political correctness, but he was speaking truth, and he showed the evidence, and he was informing the general public about here is how the platform is being used. You have gold VIP broadcasters, which are putting this kind of content out there, which is being shared on the platform, and Periscope says it's okay. And if I share it, I get penalized. That was Jeff's point. Jeff shared Gold Broadcaster's content, which violated the terms of service, and he was the one in trouble for drawing attention to that lack of oversight supervision of a Gold Broadcaster. Yes, that is correct, Ms. Katcha. So back to my point, I'm not complaining about Periscope because I know what these entities are. I know what Facebook is. And that for my role as an activist, I had to come up with my own process, my own tools in how to deal with what I thought was concerning in certain broadcasts. There's all kinds of... Periscope is all about free speech, as long as they agree with the kind of speech in which you're using. There's all there's nothing that you could tell me about a broadcast that would surprise me. None of this would surprise me. And the fact that it's out there, you could, whatever fetish that you could come up with, as deviant as it would be, there will be a broadcast about it. Now, you may not be able to find it, but I promise you that broadcast is out there. The most bizarre fetish you could imagine. I've seen furries having sex at a convention. Very bizarre stuff. There's all kinds of weird behavior on Periscope. So prisoners, people that have certain political bents, certain people that offer condemnation and judgment, they're all over the place. And they're there because there's an audience to consume it. Why can't law enforcement do anything about this? Because you've signed a contract and you haven't read the terms of service, and you have to know when the law enforcement gets involved. And that is a very good point. Dr. John nailed it. It's not understanding the law. While you may see it on the side of their cars to protect and serve, that does not have anything to do with you. It's up to you to protect and serve yourself. It's up to you to protect and serve your child. Exactly. What law was broken? The law that was broken is the parents. The parents are in trouble. The parents are in trouble. And when that child is caught and the parent is caught, yeah, there's going to be some laws and it's going to be painful. And that's very true, Simon. It just brings into magnification the depravity of humanity. There is no guidance or supervision, EJ. You're right. You're right. And there will not be any, because it's not our school system's responsibility. That is not what our educational institution is for. They're not to teach your children how to own a device which you put in their hand. Uh-oh. Is that better? Did that come in? Why does it do that? Should be better now. Okay. I got to put some more stuff on there. It's not the school's responsibility to teach your children how to use the device which the school doesn't own and the children don't own. It's your device. Oh, absolutely, Quantum Electron. And they want to promote it. The most popular viral videos are World Star Hip Hop. People get in street fights. People love to film sensationalism because it gets eyeballs. It gets eyeballs. Those people will make money when they film somebody beating somebody up in Walmart. And it's like a traffic accident. You scroll through it in your timeline, you're going to stop and watch it. You can't help yourself. You can't help yourself because you're saying, my gosh, look at how stupid these people are. But you're contributing to people doing it again because you're looking at the stupidity, but you're hanging on to it. You've just described the Jerry Springer episode, which people want to consume. Drama sells. The media knows it bleeds, it leads. If you're divisive, you get focus. I have 26 viewers inside my broadcast. But if you have somebody out there doing something very divisive, very judgmental, argumentative, condemning, people will flock into that. Oh, here we go. Got to get another one out of here. This is what is attractive to people because it makes them feel better about themselves. At least I'm not that bad. That's what it is. It's a compare and contrast for ourselves to say, you know what, I got a tough life, but at least it's not me. That's why at the grocery stores, the Globe, the Sun, and those other magazines are right by the checkout aisle, or People magazine, because people can look at celebrities and the bad decisions they make and they go, look how popular this person is, but look how stupid they are. At least I'm not that dumb. Spiritual pride. That's another issue. That's another issue. But me, Ryan, from Parent Dome, is here to pierce the conscience of parents, to make them aware of this is the behavior that they're participating in, the parents are, and that they're allowing their children to participate in, absent of oversight, absent of controls. And I'm here not to judge, I'm here to help, to give you access to tools like this over here. The mind blows that crap up and these people have to deal. EJ, you're spot on. Mental health is a crisis in the United States. You know, I'm going to tell you that there's two professions that have absolute job security. If you want a profession, you want prognostication from Ryan as to two jobs that you should seek in the future. If you're a millennial, listen to me. I'm going to tell you two jobs that you will never experience a downturn. Never, never. A mortician. A mortician. People always die, so you will always have a client. You will always have a client because people always die. Bartenders. I like bartenders. And the other is in the mental health field. Absolutely, the mental health field. Psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, because we have an increasing rate of people with mental health challenges without the tools and resources to go to get the help. They need the kick in the pants to get out of the house and find that right person, but those people, they're in short supply. My wife is in that field, and it's absolutely, you need to have the stomach for it, EJ. It is not, there's a certain type of person that goes into that field. There's no doubt about it. But you want two professions that are recession proof? It's a mortician and a mental health specialist. Well, that's by intention, Sports for the Blind. That's by design. That happened way long ago, happened in the late 60s that we saw that transition. Tony, I can't disagree with that. It's not as recession-proof as the other two, but because of what's happening in the healthcare system, that it's mental healthcare professionals are about to be conscripted. Your services are going to be obligatory, and whether you get paid for them or not, who knows? Because we're working through a healthcare issue right now where people think it's a right. And if you demand a right to healthcare, then I demand a right to free plumbing into my home. I demand a right to have water coming into my home. And if something happens, I don't want to pay to somebody to come and fix the water in my home, because that's a right in which I should demand. I'm not going to conscript plumbers to make sure my house is running efficiently because I demand water as a right. I shouldn't have to pay for water. But that's my concern with the nurses. We're going down a political process which mental health, nursing care, and doctors might be conscripted. That the government will say, this level of doctor you're going to be paid at this rate, this level of doctor you're going to be paid at this rate, and you have to obligate yourselves to this many hours a week in a nationalized healthcare system. Thanks, EJ. It was good seeing you. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it. It's more appropriate for parents with children, but I appreciate you supporting my message. And by the way, EJ Luna, if you want to watch some awesome drum scopes, holy crikeys, that is a musician and a half. Wow. I've caught him do a couple of fantastic, it's just fun to watch. No, you're all right. I was just sharing that your scopes are fun to watch. Your drumming talents are phenomenal. So it's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. And every once in a while you take requests. Well, at least you took one for me. It was fun. So I'm going to broadcast out. Those that are interested in learning about keeping your kids safe online, my broadcasts, after I'm done, I take them down and I archive them. I provide a tremendous amount of free value through Periscope, but for those people that are part of the Parent Dome tribe, that link gives you the ability to get in for a buck and experience all of the material that I have. I have the ability for people to share it with others. If you have a community of parents who would benefit from my messaging, I have the ability that you can share it with them, and if those people transact, you can make a couple of bucks. But it's about me getting the message out. I want to help parents have the tools and resources to help keep their kids safe online so they don't wind up on a BBC episode, or they don't wind up on my YouTube channel or my Twitter feed, or they don't wind up on other people's Twitter feed. And those videos are public and permanent. They don't come down. They don't disappear. So unsupervised children that are doing whatever they do, they are going to have a digital footprint that's going to be pretty stinky. I say that because I can smell my feet. All right, so everybody have a great day, and thanks for joining. Thanks for the hearts, and I will see you. Oomph is here? I didn't see her come in. Oh, Nathan, thank you for sharing your scope. I went and grabbed that video myself, and that was the reason I did this broadcast, was because somebody shared your scope with me to go check out that video. So I sucked it down and I played it in here twice. And because it was appropriate for what I do, because my messaging is all about keeping people safe online. Probably the only person on Periscope that is as committed to doing that. And many of the people that I follow, or the relationships I've built, is particularly with a lot of women. A lot of women have been victims of some pretty horrible things inside of live stream, and they've come to me and say, what do I do? And I've kind of nurtured them into changing their behavior online to do it in a way that wasn't in the quest for hearts and follows, but it was in quest of building relationships with quality people. So you see, I only had 3,000 followers, but I have 20 times that in my block list. I probably have more people in my block list than, I can't say Alex Pettit does followers. I couldn't say that. But I guarantee you I probably have one of the largest block lists of anybody in Periscope. And that's by design. Because I am here for a discrete purpose tied to, it's not going to stop. No, I have no delusion to think that it's going to stop. It's what I have told people. The last message, not this morning, but the one I did before that, was the privacy war is over. We have given up as a society that our impulse to be entertained and be distracted and to be visible has come at such a cost that we don't care. We don't care that our privacy is gone. That's not it, Nathan. It's not a software issue. The legal pieces are already in place. The legal pieces are already in place. It's illegal. Okay, Nathan, I'll give you an example, because you may not have heard this before and it's your first time here. So I'm going to do this. I'll try not to get animated. Okay. In the United States, it is illegal to have a minor child with access to the internet, because access to the internet is required based upon a contract. Hold on. You cannot enter into a contract in the United States with a minor child. This is a contracted use. Your cable TV is a contracted use. No, it doesn't matter. It has to start with legality. The legality. A minor child, you have to have a contract to get online. So this smartphone, when you buy a smartphone and you sign that little LCD display, you have to be an adult that signs that contract. Now, you didn't read the terms of service that are behind that tell you this, but that's what's there. When you sign that, you're agreeing to the terms of service, which says you're an adult. You have to be at least 18 in the U.S. Then all the terms of service to this device are yours, an adult. Now, every software that you load is a legal contract. Any application you download, when you click I agree, that is a legal binding contract. This device cannot legally be in the possession of a minor child. They may have possession, but they don't have ownership. You've given them possession of it, but you own it. So you as the legal adult have a contract with everything that's happening on here. And every time, it doesn't matter whose finger touches that screen and clicks I agree. It doesn't matter whose finger pushes the touch screen and takes a photo or shoots a video. That doesn't matter, because this legal responsibility is to an adult. And everything that happens on that device that's shared all over the internet is the adult's responsibility. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Whether they do that or not, that is a point of sale obligation. So again, we're putting our child's supervision on someone else. No, we're doing this in ignorance. But that's because parents, when I say it's hidden in plain view, nobody reads the contract. Did you read the terms of service when you downloaded Periscope? I bet not. Did you read the terms of service when you downloaded Twitter? I bet not. Facebook? I bet not. Snapchat? I bet not. Instagram? I bet not. People were all bent out of whack as to what's going on with the Super Hearts campaign within Periscope, but nobody read the 71 pages of terms of service. Let alone do they have the legal understanding to interpret those terms of service. So, by law, in the United States, you can't enter into a contract. So parents, ignorance of the law is not a defense of law inside a court of law. Ignorance of the law is not a defense of the law in the court of law. So when your child is taking or possessing or transmitting inappropriate photos, your child, because you've given them the device, they are breaking the law, right? Because they're trafficking and distributing potentially child porn. They will be punished, maybe a misdemeanor. But law enforcement, they're saying this is the parent's device. We have a case for an adult in the possession, trafficking, and distribution of child porn. Because all those Snapchat dick pics, pardon me for saying that, but that's what that is, that are on your phone, that is in your child's custody, but it's your ownership, you will be charged with owning those pictures of minor children sharing out on the internet. And guess what? You may not anticipate what the consequences are. The consequences are the child's going to get a misdemeanor, depending upon how many photos, they might get a felony charge. But you, adult, you're going to be treated completely differently. You're going to be on the national predators list. You're going to lose your job. Just give that up. You've lost your job. Your employer is not going to have a predator and or a pedophile employed. They'll say, see you later, bye. Because you're going to be in the news for trafficking and distribution. Or maybe you won't be in the news because you have enough money to keep it out of the news. But that doesn't stop people like me walking around with little posters and putting them in the neighborhood saying, hey, somebody is now on Megan's Law that lives in this neighborhood, and I have a right to inform everybody that I have another predator that moved right in. It's freedom of speech. You're just trying to avoid the consequences of being not aware and entering into contracts and putting a car in the hands of a child that hasn't learned how to drive. That's what we have done. We have taken something of incredible power and put it in the hands of a child that the mind isn't developed to anticipate consequences yet, and we're going to trust them to figure it out. Put keys to a Lamborghini in the hands of a 5-year-old, and what will happen? How damaged will that Lamborghini come back, and how many lives will be taken out? That's our reality. And we complain about it when they get caught. We don't do anything in advance because we don't know about it. We choose not to see it. We choose not to see what's happening. And it's not just that smartphone, people. Let me give you another bell ringer. If you have teenage boys, I'm sure they've already convinced you that, Mom and Dad, I don't want to interrupt what you're doing. Is it okay if I can video game in the basement or I can video game in my bedroom? Because Mom and Dad, I don't want to disrupt. You started with them gaming near you, but eventually they got to somewhere private. They didn't do that for your convenience. They did that because something was happening different in that video game experience. And they didn't want you to hear it, and they didn't want to hear you to hear the words that they were saying. No surprise there. And my evidence to prove that to you is if you have a child video gaming online in another room with headphones on, just walk in and say, "Hi, son," and unplug the headphones and see what the response is. And hear coming out of the speakers for the first time what you have approved your child to be listening to and what your child may be contributing to. You think I'm making that up? Go to YouTube and go to the guy called We're Gonna Lose and look how he demonstrates what is happening in that live video game experience. He is a well-known troll. Abby, I know there's a whole industry around this. I was involved in that industry before that industry took me out of my knees. I'm well known, I'm published, I'm patented, and I went into the heart of that industry. And they said, you are either going to die or disappear. And they did. They did just that. That's another scope, another story, another day, and my viewers know that that's in my history. They know my path. They know my previous path. My activism and intervention is not out of ignorance. It's based upon I've seen this transition over time. I've been involved in what's been happening. I know the power that corporations and the government have over you, and you willingly accept that because you enter a contract without reading it, and they're laughing all the day. Because the privacy war is over because you gave up your privacy when you clicked that I agree. You gave it up. So you can't complain when you get spam and you get a ransomware or an account gets hacked from Target. Don't complain about that. You're living freely as you want on the internet. You've got stuff going through. I did a great educational scope the other night, and I was talking about how big data has got your avatar nailed down. They know more about you than your wife knows about you inside of 20 clicks. And how many clicks do you click a day? You give them so much information about you that your avatar is known by big data more than your wife knows about you. They know more about your past. They know about your genetic background. They know about your environmental socialization. They know what brands you like. They got you down, and they want to influence you to their way of thinking, influence them to their way of transacting, and they want to extort from you financially. They want to take your money. And you just silently go along and go, okay, this is fine. Isn't that funny? I just typed in Google, I was looking for this wood chipper, and all of a sudden in Facebook, it showed up in my timeline, this wood chipper. How did that happen? That's just kind of bizarre. That's just kind of bizarre. My other proof test for you is get with your best friend, and both of you sit at the computer and open up Google, and together make up 3 words in a series, and type those 3 words in your Google search. Red shoes, stilettos, whatever. Type that in your Google search. Your results will be different than your friend's results on the same search engine. Why? Because Google has already got the algorithm on you to give you the results that they want you to see. Not what you want to see. They're giving you what they want you to see. Oh my gosh, that's the same thing. It's even worse than that. Please do not type 3-letter agencies in my broadcasts. You're new to my broadcast, so I just want to make you aware of that. That's normally a blockable offense when you come into here and type 3-letter agencies, but I know how to deal with that. You are now targeted for yourself because you've drawn attention to yourself on a public platform about governmental agencies. You do that several times, you may not be prepared for the consequences of that additional level of intrusion into your life. That's my wisdom I drop on you. You shouldn't type any 3-letter agencies anywhere using a keypad or a touchpad. Just don't do it. I did a lesson the other day, not publicly in Periscope, the words you should never type in series, in consequence, in sequence. You don't type them. Now, that list is only knowledgeable inside a certain environment, and that list is constantly changing based upon global and political impact. I mean, if you start talking about Venezuela and political leaders in Venezuela and you add some other words into that, you're drawing attention to yourself through agencies that you may not want those attention or anything close to those letters. Thank you, Tony. Because those agencies know when you try to be creative on how to use other letters to obfuscate it. Well, they've already figured you out. They've already figured you out. It's best to refrain. I know what you're saying. I've got a process for defense and proactive to protect myself. Not many people are even that aware to know they need to have an offense and a defense. It is a 3-letter minefield and 4 letters. I'm here dumping wisdom, all for parents who have kids or parents who have kids which have grandkids, because we are the weakest link. Goodbye. We are the weakest link. And our ability to justify and rationalize and explain away our passivity in a hope that it's going to be okay. Do you know how many kids cannot make it into the police academy because the police academy goes through a background research and they check all the social media and they go, that's not the character person we want associated with a police uniform? Because the video evidence, the text evidence, we don't want that character. They weed them out. College admissions are getting deeper and deeper into the type of kids that they want to allow into their school. So it's getting a little smaller pool of people being able to get into the institution. Employers, assuming you graduate from college, assuming you take the 6-year program and you graduate out of college, the employer wants to know what your character is. They want to know what your character was in school. Southwest Florida just entered in the room. I don't know who Southwest Florida is. But greetings, Southwest Florida. That sounds like a geographical landmass to me. The employers want to know, what is my risk in bringing in somebody that is on live stream, waking and baking, and telling the world that, hey, during work I'm this person, but when I come on at night, this is who I am. Wait till that employer sees that video. There's people that are live streaming at work, while at work. I went into a live stream of a woman who was suffering from a hangover. She was broadcasting while she was hungover, making phone calls to clients, and the phone was on live while she was broadcasting. Had her location settings on. I sent a message to the employer and I said, I don't know if you're violating wiretapping laws, that you need to let people know when you are recording their conversation. You have an employee who's hungover, who's broadcasting on Periscope, and I know this client is talking to them about wanting to purchase this new Audi R8, and his name is blah, 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 and you better get that person off of Periscope before I find that person and let him know that his privacy has been compromised by your dealership. What kind of training do you have going on over at Audi? It's a game of whack-a-mole. Employers don't even know how to keep up with it. No, this is the real world. This is the real world. This device gives people the impulsivity that they can turn it on whatever they want, they can say whatever they want, and there'll never be a consequence until there is. Do you think that girl received training on her behavior, on how to use technology inside the building? Of course not. Of course not. They terminate her on the spot. I said, that wasn't my goal. My goal wasn't to terminate that girl. My goal was to make you aware that social media is something that you guys should have a policy on how to educate your employees instead of firing them. Because honestly, you could have been doing the same thing walking around with the live stream while you're walking around the cars and not understanding that. It's personal phone. It's personal phone. People may have a business phone. Most people have their own private phone. There is no expectation of privacy. That's gone. We gave that up, Chamson. We gave it up. We totally surrendered that right because we're impulsive, spontaneous, entitled creatures. We want what we want. The MasterCard commercials. I want it now. You got it now. And you want it faster. Get it? You want Wi-Fi on an airplane. And you'll complain when the Wi-Fi goes out on the airplane. But the last flight you took didn't have Wi-Fi on it. We're so entitled. We're so darn entitled. But anyway, my goal is to be a beacon of light for all those people that are bobbing around in the ocean in a hurricane needing a safe port. And very few people come into that port. They come in when their ship is absolutely destroyed, taking on water, and the engine is fired. And they say, Ryan, Parent Dome, can you help fix it? I'm like, dude, your best fix is you better get a good attorney. And that's going to be around $7,000 to $10,000. And you probably need a therapist at this point too, because the amount of stuff that you let go over the dam, yeah, I can't fix that. And oh, I'm so sorry that your child took their life, but I'm sorry you have 5 years of YouTube history that let you know that this was coming. You're getting paid by discounted use to the internet. That's what you're getting. Your compensation is a reduction in what the fee would be for you to gain access to the internet. No, he could not. No. The contract is between an entity. Contract. This is legal. This is legal. Every web page has a terms of service. You can't use the app without clicking I agree. And that I agree says I agree to having read the terms of service. Whether you lied or not, you're entering that contract. Now, I teach people how to invalidate that contract, but I'm not going to do that on Periscope because people love to consume from me for free. People love to consume what Parent Dome speaks for free. Some people are bold enough to say how big of an issue this is. And I'm not saying that to overwhelm you because it is a big issue. It is a huge issue. But to take that first step, not many people, they want to see, can they get as much as they can out of me for free, which is fine because I do that. I give that kind of information. But then I say, hard stop, and then it goes. So as I say, this broadcast, when I'm done, whoosh, disappears, and it goes over into my site. So catching me live, that's a bonus. Catching me live is a bonus. And not everybody can catch me live. And then what's sent over into Parent Dome University. I struggle. I need to YouTube what is data storage, and I don't know what you mean by that. Big data is a way to describe all the data collection and algorithms to profile your behavior, and they create what is called an avatar to save your data. I don't know what you mean to save your data. Internet safety and privacy is about 10% technology, 90% behavior. So there are some technological things that you can do to achieve privacy, safety, and security. You can do that 10% technology solutions, and I teach on those. But that is inconsequential to addressing your behavior, because you could have the most robust set of tools and resources and gateways for your privacy and security, but your behavior will give it away every single time. And you have to modify your behavior. You have to use a search engine strategy. You have to understand where to go, and what combination on how to do that. But nobody is going to really willing to invest on fixing their behavior. They want, is there an app for that? Is there an app to keep me safe? And there are apps out there selling you a false hope because you haven't read the terms of service of the app. There's this wonderful app that you see advertised on TV all the time. It's about life. and having like a security device around it, kind of maybe like a lock. You may have heard something like that, but nobody reads the terms of service of that. Nobody understands what's happening with that information. 23andMe genetic testing. Everybody wants to figure out their genetic background. You are a free tool for investigators that you're providing them your DNA under this illusion that you're going to get this feedback as to what my genetic background is. Great. Go into a national registry of your DNA. Super smart. Super smart. Give big corporations more personal information about you at the genetic level. Exactly at the genetic, right down to the genetic. It's more than a myth. It's more than a myth. You don't need to know that bad. You don't need to know that bad. You may want to know. There's other ways to go and find out. That's through going through genealogy. But my gosh, what are we not willing to do to be private? What are we not willing to do? I'm not willing to turn off the TV. Some people aren't even willing to turn off the location settings. Even that's a false ruse because your location settings are on all the time anyway. I'm not willing to change my search browser behavior. I'm not willing to take down my Facebook account. I'm not willing to avoid Twitter. I'm not willing to abandon what network I build up on my LinkedIn profile. I'm not willing to stop watching videos on YouTube. Those are all personal decisions. You have made the decision that your privacy is less important to you than your life experience. You're okay with the unintended consequences that come down the pike when your identity has been stolen. Mount Rock CC, the things that are attached to Facebook are mind-blowing, and they change frequently. I will tell you, of the people that are in my broadcast right now, I will bet you 80% of you have already had your webcam on your laptop compromised. I will venture to say 80% of you have already downloaded apps that have compromised the webcam on your iPhone or your Android. That's one way to resolve it, Ms. Katcha. It's one of the ways I tell people is to put a piece of tape over your webcam. Doesn't disable your microphone. But people have already had them compromised because of things that they've already downloaded and they didn't understand, oh, I'm giving up this kind of control. Well, it wouldn't be worth my while to be coming into a broadcast to speak things which were not true. Because in my mission, if I were to lie, people would find me out as being a fraud and say, you've been lying to people about this privacy and security. And I say, you may want to disagree with my points, which is fine. You're not disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with my data. So go into my research, go into all of my site and bring up the data that you disagree with. And you argue the data with me, not the way I represent the data. Argue the data. When I say porn is bad, the sexual objectification of someone else's daughter in visual images is bad. It's particularly bad for males because it changes the brain chemistry of what happens to them. And it creates this addiction. And it has unintended consequences as they mature through life. No, that's okay, sports for the line. I was just giving another layer on top of what you said. So I appreciate that. And I wasn't jumping on top of you. And this, it's part of the problem with there's no tone in text. So you may say something, gives me a springboard to say something else. So I appreciate you saying that. But that's, you kind of get used to the way I communicate, and I'm got ADD, so I'm a little bit over the place. I lost where I was going. See what happens? It's a transmission. It's a tougher solution. Okay, there is no tone in text, and there's no ethics or morals on social media. So I apply people's meaning based upon the context I receive it, and I could be totally wrong. Admitted, but I tried to back that bus up. All right, I got to jump off. Thanks for those new people who joined. Oh, I was talking about porn and how it affects the young boy's brain. It affects the young boy's brain. And people may disagree with when I say those kind of things, but I say go to the scientific research, go to the white paper, go to the Princeton University study on this and how they sampled men and how men, when looking at women with less and less clothing, viewed them as an object, not as a person. That's not me. That's the results of the study. Take issue with the study. When I say men looking at porn view women as a hammer, they don't look at you as anything that's happening between your ears and the gray matter. They're just looking at you as a physical object. You may not like that, but that's what it is. So, young ladies, when you're on Scope and you're revealing yourself and you're sexually titillating people with your broadcasts, men are looking at you like a hammer. What does that do to your self-esteem when I put it out there so plainly? That you are just an object for their consumption. Sure, you're going to get hearts. Sure, you're going to get followers. And sure, you're going to be celebrity. But you're a flippin' hammer. You may be a physically attractive hammer, but you're just a hammer. You're just a hammer. And I pray that you have a sense of self-worth and self-esteem, that you consider yourself more valuable than a hammer. At least that's my hope. Because I want my daughter to have a value greater than a hammer. My daughter's a very lovely young kid. Beautiful young child. I value her way beyond a hammer. And if somebody is going to view her as a hammer, get away from me. Get away from her. Because I want a man who's attached to my daughter that sees the way I see women as I see my wife. And I model that for her. So I tell her, get those creepos out of here. Because you're not a hammer, sweetie. That's not who you are. I understand everybody else is doing it, and it's not such a big deal in your peer group. But we're setting you apart because the world wants to group you together. Society wants to group you together. Corporations and government wants to group you together. But I'm calling to set you apart. And this platform makes it easy to be part of the group and depraved. And people will say, not my child. And I say, give me the evidence to prove contrary. Give me the evidence to show it's not your child. Because if you want, in six mouse clicks, I'll bring you evidence that it is your child. In 6 mouse clicks, I will tell you a story about your own child that will have your toes curled. And I've done that at schools. I've done that in youth groups. I've done it at YMCAs. I've done it at clubs and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts with the parents sitting there. Said, somebody willing to volunteer their child's social media profile on Instagram? Yes, it is case sensitive. Yes, it is. All bit.ly links, just for your knowledge, whenever somebody uses a bit.ly link and they type it case sensitive, it is case sensitive. That's why it may not work for some people. Okay. Thank you all for listening. Time for me to go. I've been on here for an hour. Oh my gosh. 2 hours. Holy smokes. What happened to me? So everybody have a great day. I'm going to stop the broadcast, and this video is going to be archived over at Parent Dome under the videos and podcasts. Caroline, good to see you. Thank you all for joining me. Let me see if I can do this because I'm not really good at this. What am I doing? So I didn't see Shannon in here. Mount Rock CC, Chorizo, which is kind of funny. Caroline, Trader, Sports for the Blind, Paget. I know there were some other people in here, but I think they've left. So thanks for joining the broadcast. I don't ask people to share or invite my broadcasts. I say that those are decisions that you need to make on your own. I don't want to solicit that. You have to determine, is what I say of value to you personally that you'd want to listen to it, and that you also may not want to be attached to my messaging because it says something about you. And I'm not. That's why I don't ask people to do that, because I know my message is a difficult message, and not many people want to be attached to it. They want to listen to it and they want to participate, but they don't want to make that admission. And that's why when I talk to people offline, I say, I appreciate and respect people's privacy. I don't want to know your name, and I don't need to see your face, and I can talk to you alone. And that's just the way I roll. All right. Take care, everybody. Have an awesome day.